and welcome to the Retirement Wealth Podcast. Today, we're diving into a topic that's on the minds of many as they approach retirement long-term care planning.
Absolutely, Emily. It's such an important aspect of retirement that often gets overlooked. Many people think about their savings and investments, but planning for potential long-term care needs is just as crucial.
Right? It can be a bit daunting, but it doesn't have to be. We're going to break it down today and talk about some key considerations, like how to assess your potential needs and the different options you might have.
Exactly. We'll also discuss the financial implications and the importance of having a solid plan in place. Because, the earlier you start thinking about it, the better prepared you'll be.
Plus, we'll share some strategies that can help you navigate this part of retirement planning so you can have peace of mind knowing you're covered.
And let's not forget about the emotional side of it. Planning for long-term care isn't just about finances. It's about ensuring you and your loved ones are set up for the best possible quality of life.
Well said, David. So let's get right into it and start exploring how to approach long-term care planning effectively.
Emily, as we dive into long-term care planning, it's crucial to understand why this is so important right now. The landscape is changing constantly, and not just with investments or savings. It's also about how we approach our healthcare needs as we age.
Absolutely, David. I think a lot of people don't realize that the average American will face some sort of long-term care need in their lifetime. It's not just about having enough saved for retirement. It's about preparing for those unexpected healthcare costs that can really add up.
Right, and with the increase in life expectancy, more people are living longer, but also might face chronic illnesses or disabilities that require additional care. Just recently, I spoke with a couple in their early 60s, planning for retirement in just a few short years. They were shocked to learn that, on average, a couple might need around $300,000 for long-term care over their lifetime.
Wow, that's a significant amount. And I can imagine that could really throw a wrench in their retirement plans if they hadn't prepared for it.
Exactly. And with inflation constantly creeping up, those figures can feel even more daunting. If healthcare costs rise at a higher rate than general inflation, that $300,000 could easily become $500,000 in a couple of decades. It's a real concern.
That's a good point. And then there's the issue of market volatility. With the stock market being so unpredictable, retirees are understandably worried about their portfolios. If you're relying on your investments to cover those long-term care costs, you want to ensure you're not forced to sell at a loss during a downturn.
Yes, and that's why having a solid plan in place is vital. It's not just about what you have invested. It's about how efficiently you can access those funds when you need them. I remember another client who, during the last market downturn, found themselves liquidating investments they'd planned to hold for years, just to cover unexpected medical bills.
That's so stressful, and it goes beyond just the financial aspect. The emotional toll of worrying about healthcare costs can really impact one's quality of life in retirement too, right?
Absolutely. Financial security in retirement is intertwined with peace of mind. If you're constantly worried about how to afford care, it can overshadow everything else. A strong plan helps alleviate that anxiety.
I've also been reading about changes to Social Security, and it's another layer to consider. If benefits are adjusted or delayed, that could affect how much income retirees have available for these unforeseen expenses.
Right. It's important to stay informed about those changes and to strategize accordingly. For instance, if you're planning to rely heavily on Social Security, it's essential to know how long you can wait to maximize those benefits, especially if healthcare needs arise earlier than expected.
Yes, and when we talk about legacy planning, it's not just about passing on wealth, but also ensuring that your loved ones aren't burdened with your care costs. I've heard stories where families have had to step in, often sacrificing their own financial security in the process.
That's a tough situation, and it's one that can be mitigated with proper planning. For example, setting up a long-term care insurance policy early can protect both your assets and your family's peace of mind.
And let's not forget the current economic trends. Rising interest rates and inflation can impact what you're earning on savings or investments, making it even more crucial to have a diversified approach to your retirement strategy.
Yes, diversification is key. It's not just about stocks and bonds anymore. It's about finding the right mix that can weather these economic shifts while still providing for your long-term care needs.
So it sounds like the bottom line is that the time to start planning for long-term care is now. It's not just another item on the retirement checklist. It's foundational to ensuring a secure and enjoyable retirement.
Absolutely, and I think this leads us nicely into discussing some core strategies that people can implement. Preparing for long-term care doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's about taking those initial steps to create a framework that supports your retirement goals, while also safeguarding against potential healthcare costs.
I'm excited to dive into that. It's time to get practical and really empower our listeners with actionable strategies.
So, when we talk about long-term care planning, it's essential to consider how it fits into your overall retirement strategy, right?
Absolutely. And one of the first things that comes to mind is how to allocate funds effectively across different types of investments.
Exactly. A common rule of thumb is the 70-30 allocation, where you might have 70% in stocks and 30% in bonds. This can help balance growth potential with stability.
Right. But as you approach retirement, you might want to shift that to something like a 60-40 or even a 50-50 split, depending on your risk tolerance and timeline.
Exactly. And don't forget about tax-advantaged accounts like your 401k or IRA. These can be crucial for your long-term care funding.
Yeah, those accounts grow tax-deferred, which is a big plus. And if you have a Roth IRA, you can withdraw funds tax-free in retirement. That can be super helpful for covering long-term care costs.
Definitely. And speaking of costs, long-term care can be quite expensive. In some areas, nursing home care can run over $100,000 a year.
Wow, that's significant. So it's important to account for those potential expenses in your financial planning.
Right, and this is where having a solid withdrawal strategy comes into play. The 4% rule is a popular guideline, suggesting you withdraw 4% of your retirement savings each year.
That sounds simple enough, but it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, is it?
Not at all. The 4% rule was based on historical market performance, and in today's environment, you might need to adjust that percentage based on your needs and market conditions.
True, and that's why some people are turning to strategies like the bucket strategy.
Absolutely. With the bucket strategy, you essentially divide your retirement savings into different buckets for short-term, medium-term, and long-term needs.
So like a bucket for immediate expenses, one for midterm needs, and another for growth over time?
Exactly. The idea is that your short-term bucket is more conservative, perhaps in cash or bonds, while your long-term bucket can be more growth-oriented, like stocks.
That makes sense. And it allows you to manage risk better while ensuring you have access to funds when you need them.
Right, and let's not forget about Social Security optimization. Timing your benefits can make a significant difference in your overall retirement income.
For sure. Delaying your benefits can increase your monthly payments, sometimes by as much as 8% for each year you wait after your full retirement age.
And that can really add up, especially if you expect to live a long life.
Exactly. Plus, there are strategies to coordinate benefits if you're married, which can maximize your household income.
Good point. It's worth consulting a financial planner to help navigate those decisions.
Speaking of planning, what about diversifying your investments? How does that tie into long-term care planning?
Diversification can help reduce risk. You don't want all your eggs in one basket, so mixing asset classes can help cushion against market volatility.
And if the market takes a hit, having a diversified portfolio can help ensure you still have funds available for those unexpected long-term care costs.
Exactly. And let's not forget about real estate. If you own a home, that can be a significant asset.
Right. But it's important to have a plan for your home as you age. Maybe considering a reverse mortgage or selling your home to fund care options.
Those are valid options. Just be sure to weigh the pros and cons, as they can impact your overall financial strategy.
And speaking of impact, tax strategies can be super beneficial in retirement.
For sure. There are ways to minimize taxes on your withdrawals, particularly if you're careful about which accounts you draw from first.
Oh, like taking from taxable accounts first before dipping into tax-deferred ones?
Exactly. It can help you manage your taxable income and keep you in a lower tax bracket longer.
And that's especially important if you're in a higher tax bracket during your working years and expect to be in a lower bracket once you retire.
Right, and let's not overlook RMDs or required minimum distributions. Once you hit age 72, the IRS requires you to start withdrawing from your tax-deferred accounts.
That's a crucial point. because those withdrawals can significantly impact your taxable income.
Yes, and knowing how to plan for those can help you avoid a sudden tax hit in retirement.
So it sounds like there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to long-term care planning and retirement strategy in general.
Absolutely, and it's all about being proactive. The earlier you start thinking about these things, the better prepared you'll be.
And as we wrap up this section, it's a good idea to transition to some common pitfalls that people face in long-term care planning.
Yes, recognizing those pitfalls can help you avoid costly mistakes down the road. So Emily, one of the big mistakes I see people make when planning for retirement is underestimating healthcare costs. They think they'll have Medicare to cover everything, but that's not quite the case.
Absolutely, David. I mean, Medicare does cover a lot, but there are still gaps. Many folks don't realize just how expensive long-term care can be. It can really eat into savings if you're not prepared.
Exactly. For instance, I had a client, let's call her Susan. She assumed that by the time she retired, she wouldn't need much health care, maybe just the regular checkups. But then, a few years in, she needed a hip replacement. The costs were staggering, and she hadn't factored that into her plan.
Wow, that's a tough situation. And hip replacements are just one part of it, right? What about the ongoing care after surgery? It's not just a one-time expense.
Right, and that's where it can get really tricky. Many people overlook the potential for needing in-home care or even assisted living later on. I've seen some clients end up spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on long-term care, which can really derail their retirement plans.
That's such a good point. And it's not just healthcare costs. The longevity factor can really catch people off guard. Like, if you retire at 65, you might think you've got 20 years to plan for. But what if you live to 90 or even longer?
Yeah, that's definitely a real consideration. I had a couple, let's call them Mark and Lisa, who retired at 60. They thought they had a solid plan for a 30-year retirement, but they hadn't accounted for the fact that Lisa had a family history of longevity. Now they're in their mid-80s, and their savings are stretched thin.
That must be stressful for them. It's like they're always on edge about money. What would you tell someone who's worried about that?
Well, first off, it's important to have a realistic view of how long you might need your savings to last. I mean, running the numbers based on your family history, health, and lifestyle can really help, and then diversifying your investments can mitigate some of those risks.
Right, and speaking of investments, asset allocation is another area where I see mistakes. People sometimes get too conservative as they age, thinking they need to protect their savings, but that can limit growth.
Exactly. I had a client, let's call him Tom, who shifted all his assets to bonds right after he retired because he didn't want to take any risks. The issue? Inflation was eating away at his purchasing power, and he wasn't growing his nest egg at all.
That sounds frustrating. I mean, it's a balancing act, right? You want to be safe, but also maintain some growth. How do you help clients find that balance?
Well, it starts with understanding the risk tolerance and goals. Then we build a diversified portfolio that aligns with their needs. It's about having a mix of assets, stocks, bonds, maybe even some alternative investments to weather different market conditions.
And that ties into another common pitfall, the sequence of returns risk. It's something people often overlook when they're pulling money from their retirement accounts.
Exactly. If there's a market downturn early in retirement and you're withdrawing funds, it can really hurt your long-term viability. I remember a couple, let's call them Kevin and Rachel. They retired in 2007, right before the financial crisis. They were forced to sell investments at a loss, which significantly impacted their portfolio.
That's such a tough lesson to learn. So what can retirees do to avoid that kind of situation?
A couple of strategies can help. First, having a cash reserve or a bond ladder can provide stability during market downturns. That way, you're not forced to sell stocks when the market is down, and considering a withdrawal strategy that accounts for market fluctuations can make a big difference too.
That makes a lot of sense. Another area I see people struggle with is Social Security. Many claim it too early, thinking they're just going to get what they can while they're still alive.
Absolutely. I had a client named Barbara who claimed her benefits at 62. She didn't realize that if she had waited until 70, she would have received a much larger monthly payment. It was a significant difference over her lifetime.
That's a big oversight. So what should people consider before deciding when to claim?
Well, it's all about your financial situation, health, and when you plan to retire. If you're still working and don't need the benefits, waiting can really pay off. It's important to think about your overall strategy rather than just the immediate cash flow.
And I guess that's where having a solid retirement plan comes into play. It really helps you see the bigger picture, right?
Exactly, Emily. A good plan integrates all these factors: healthcare costs, investment strategy, Social Security timing. It's about painting a comprehensive picture of your retirement.
So if someone identifies these red flags in their own planning, what are some steps they can take to get back on track?
First, they should reassess their current situation. Gather all their financial information and maybe even consult with a financial advisor who specializes in retirement planning. It's never too late to adjust your strategy.
That's encouraging to hear. And I imagine it's also about being proactive, right? Regularly reviewing your plan can help catch those issues before they become major problems.
Absolutely. Life changes, and so do financial markets. Keeping an eye on your plan and adjusting as needed can help ensure you're on the right path. It's all about being informed and adaptable.
Such great advice, David. I think the key takeaway here is to be proactive, stay informed, and seek help when needed. It can really make a difference in having a secure and enjoyable retirement.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Emily. It's all about taking control of your financial future so you can enjoy the retirement you've worked so hard to achieve.
Exactly. So for listeners who might feel overwhelmed or unsure where to start, what's the next step they should consider?
Well, I'd recommend starting with a financial health checkup. Look at your current savings, expenses, and future goals. And don't hesitate to reach out to a professional if you feel it's necessary. It's all about building that roadmap for your retirement journey. All right, Emily, so we've covered a lot of ground today about long-term care planning. But now let's talk about some immediate steps folks can take to really get the ball rolling.
Absolutely. It's so important to feel empowered, right? So where should someone start?
Well, first things first, I'd suggest checking in on your current financial situation. You can use tools like Vanguard's, Fidelity's, or Schwab's retirement calculators. They offer some great insights into how much you'll need and what your options are.
Yeah, those calculators can be really eye-opening. And if someone hasn't used them before, it might feel a bit overwhelming at first. But once you dive in, it's super user-friendly.
Exactly. And while you're at it, don't forget to review your portfolio quarterly. It's a good habit to get into. It keeps you in touch with your investments and allows you to make any necessary adjustments.
Right. And maybe even run some retirement projections at least once a year. It doesn't have to be a huge undertaking. Just setting aside a couple of hours can really clarify where you stand.
That's a great point. And for those who might feel a bit lost with all the numbers, using tax software can streamline that process. You can see how your tax situation might change in retirement, which is crucial for planning.
Oh, definitely. And speaking of resources, I think it's also worth mentioning SSA.gov. It's a valuable tool for estimating your Social Security benefits.
Yes! Understanding what to expect from Social Security is key. It can help you gauge how much additional savings you'll need.
And what about financial planning apps? There are so many out there now that can help keep everything organized.
Absolutely. Apps like Mint or Personal Capital can give you a clear picture of your overall financial health. They track spending, investments, and even help with budgeting.
That sounds really handy. It can almost act like a financial coach in your pocket.
Exactly. And speaking of coaching, if someone is looking to deepen their understanding, I highly recommend checking out some books. The Boglehead's Guide to Retirement Planning is a classic, and it's really user-friendly for anyone starting out.
Oh, I love that one. And there are also great podcasts out there, like The Retirement Answer Man. It's packed with actionable advice for retirement planning.
Yes, podcasts are such a convenient way to learn on the go. And even if you just listen to an episode a week, it can really help you rethink your approach.
Right, and habits matter too. Starting small makes a big difference. Just dedicating a little time each week to your retirement planning can lead to significant improvements down the line.
Well said. And you know, it's never too late to improve your plan. Even if you're only a few years away from retirement, there are still steps you can take to enhance your financial future.
Absolutely. It's all about taking that first step and building from there.
And don't forget to reach out for help if you need it. Whether it's a financial advisor or even trusted family members, getting different perspectives can be invaluable.
That's so true. Support can really make a difference. So, with all these tools and strategies, listeners can really start to feel more confident about their long-term care planning.
Definitely. So those are some practical first steps. Now let's bring this all together. Well, Emily, as we wrap up this discussion on long-term care planning, I think it's really important to highlight a few key takeaways.
Absolutely, David. First and foremost, understanding the potential costs of long-term care is crucial. It can really impact your retirement savings if you don't plan for it.
Right, and then we talked about the different options available. From insurance policies to self-funding, having a strategy that fits your situation is key.
And let's not forget about the importance of starting conversations with loved ones. It can be tough, but being open about your wishes helps everyone involved.
Exactly. Plus, we emphasized the need for regular reviews of your plan. Life changes, and so do your needs. Keeping your plan updated ensures you're prepared for whatever comes your way.
Yeah, and I think the overarching theme here is that building and protecting your retirement wealth isn't just about saving. It's about making informed decisions that can help you live comfortably in your later years.
Well said, Emily. It really is about that holistic approach. So we encourage our listeners to take action. If you found value in today's episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment with your biggest takeaway or any questions you might have.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who's planning for or already in retirement. It could really make a difference for them.
Absolutely. And next time, we'll dive into retirement planning in your 50s explained. It's such a pivotal time and there's so much to discuss.
Can't wait for that. Thank you all for joining us today. We really appreciate you being part of our community.
Yes, thank you. Remember, planning today can lead to a more secure tomorrow.
Until next time, take care, everyone.